If you ever feel like you're forcing your voice or trying too hard to sound like someone else when singing, there might be one big mistake that is holding you back from singing in your own unique and authentic way. And in this episode, I'll reveal what that is and what you can do instead so that you can sing in a way that really feels natural, effortless, and truly you. Let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself become the best versions of themselves through singing. And in these episodes, you're going to get tips, tricks, insights, techniques, and tools all around singing to help you up-level your singing skills. Now, before we dive into what this big mistake might be, let's talk about what many beginner singers tend to do when singing a song. And many beginner singers, they try to sound like the original artist. And I guess that's normal because obviously we're getting inspired by someone else and then we're like, okay, I want to sing that song. And then what many beginner singers tend to do is sing exactly like the original artist. However, that is suppressing your own voice, your own expression, and your own authenticity. So what trained singers do instead is what we're going to cover in today's episode, which is building up their vocal technique backpack, trusting their vocal muscle memory, and then adding in their individuality. So let's talk about that in a little bit more detail. In total, there's 3 main ingredients that you need in order to be able to sing a song in your own unique and authentic way. And the first ingredient is building up your vocal technique backpack. Let me expand and explain what I mean by that. So imagine a backpack, right? And imagine that you're gonna climb a mountain. In order to climb your mountain, we need to have a backpack with some tools that will help us climb that mountain. Maybe that's a bottle of water, maybe that's a rope, some walking shoes, whatever it might be. I'm not a climber, but we're filling it up. So there's the phase of filling up the backpack, and then there's the phase of I'm climbing the mountain and I'm taking out my rope from the backpack to help me. The same philosophy applies to singing. There's a phase where we're building up the backpack. So you're learning about diaphragmatic breath. That's a technique that you're putting in your backpack. Then you're learning about the mixed voice. Another technique in your backpack. Then you're learning about cry, about twang, about vocal fry, and you're putting all of those techniques into your backpack. You're with me so far? Then there comes a time, and this is the second phase, when we're singing a song. And you're singing your song, and you might notice that you struggle with some parts of that song. Maybe you're off pitch at some point, or maybe you feel like you're straining your voice. Maybe you feel like you're squeezing your voice. Maybe you feel like your voice is limited at times. Okay, those are the moments when you take off the backpack from your back and you open up your backpack and you're looking at, okay, what technique that is in my backpack can help and support me to sing this particular part of the song. An example, maybe you're struggling with singing the high notes. All right, I'm opening up my backpack. I'm taking out my diaphragmatic breath. Let me try and sing this part of the song again, activating my diaphragmatic breath and coughing muscle. Coughing muscle, that's a whole other world we can get into, like from a vocal technique side of things, but we're not going to right now. So then you're singing that song, applying that technique, and then you can evaluate. How was that? Did this help me? Yes? Beautiful. Let's keep moving. No, it did not help me. Okay, let me put that technique back into the backpack and try another one. Oh, we have some twang in here. Let's take twang out and try twang. And then you're singing that song using the twang technique. And then you might notice, oh, this actually works. This helps. Beautiful. Let's keep going. So it's just a matter of filling up that backpack with as many techniques as possible so that you have as many options as possible to help and support you when necessary. Does that make sense? That is the first ingredient. Filling up the backpack and then knowing how to use the backpack once it's filled up. Little disclaimer, this backpack, we can keep on filling it up. This is a never-ending process. The backpack is actually a Mary Poppins backpack. Okay, second ingredient. So we talked about the backpack, which is the first ingredient. The second ingredient is adding to that backpack creative techniques. So we talked about the vocal techniques that are necessary to use your voice in a healthy way and being able to sing anything that you like. Now we can add in to that backpack creative techniques. Why? Because being able to improvise, being able to use vocal variation, like all those things, there's techniques that can help you with that. I used to think that I was not talented enough to improvise in a jazz song, for example. I remember the very first time that I had to improvise. That was in high school. And I was in a band. And first, the guitarist had to improvise. Then the keys player had to improvise for 8 bars. And then it was my turn to improvise for 8 bars. And I remember that it was my turn. I held the microphone and nothing came out of my mouth. And before I knew it, those 8 bars were over. And then it was the drummer's turn to improvise. Anyway, that experience was such a trauma for me because I thought, I just cannot sing on the spot. Until I learned techniques that help me improvise. So that's where this second ingredient come in, and it's about building up your backpack, not only with vocal techniques so that you can use your voice in the right way, but also with creative techniques so that you feel good improvising, so that you feel good changing up the melody slightly, or singing in harmony, or playing with the rhythm, or adding long notes and short notes, or whatever it might be. That's where creative expression starts to bloom. So we got our backpack, we got our vocal techniques, we got our creative techniques. Hopefully you're with me so far. If you found this valuable so far, then my invitation would be to hit the like and subscribe button here down below so that you're keeping on being updated when new episodes just like this ones are coming out. Now, there's still a third ingredient that we need to cover, so let's keep moving. The third ingredient is all about trust. Trusting your voice, trusting your ability to be creative. In other words, trusting the vocal, like the backpack that you have been building up. This is where we're starting to cultivate confidence. There comes a time when we're singing in public, whether that's on stage, at a karaoke event, for your friend's birthday, whatever the context might be. There comes a time that we might feel nervous when we're singing and someone else is listening. And then trusting that we have this backpack that we can fall back onto is key. How can you expect to feel any confidence in your singing if you don't trust yourself, your skills, and your voice? So this is really about let me rephrase that. This is really about nervous system regulation. Because when you don't trust yourself and you feel those nerves and that stress or that anxiety coming up, our brain is seeing a certain situation as a threat. And our brain is preparing our body to fight, to flight, or to freeze. So our brain sees a threat and then it pumps blood to our legs so that we can fight, or it raises our cortisol level so that we can fight. The blood in our legs was to run away, so that's the flight. Anyway, our brain sees a threat and our body reacts to it. How we can counter that is regulate our nervous system so that our brain then understands, we're safe here. This is not a threat. This is a safe situation. Now, this is a whole world we can dive deeper into, and I'm going to invite you to do so because, as you can see, your vocal development is a holistic approach. It's not just about training your voice and your vocal technique. It's combining the vocal techniques and the creative techniques with nervous system regulation so that you can then authentically express yourself, so that you're not being held back by any insecurities or doubts or nerves when you're expressing yourself authentically. So let's keep that conversation going. I got an episode where I dive deeper into that, where these three elements really come together. This is what I call the path to vocal freedom. And it's a natural next step after you've gone through this episode. So my invitation is for you to head on over to that next episode. I will link to it in the description here down below and on the screen somewhere, so that you can click that and go over to that next episode, which is a beautiful continuing conversation. I don't know if that word exists, but this is the next step. So I invite you to click that link below so that we can dive deeper into this path to vocal freedom, because it's not just about technique. It's about having all of those three elements work together. So I'm looking forward to see you there. I want to thank you for having been here today. I appreciate you. And we'll see each other soon, maybe next week on next episode. Talk to you then. Bye.